Jay here from Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, we're live in the studio. Get involved in all the chat and the comments. Going to be talking about all the latest Manchester United news. The news focusing on Bryan Mbeumo, as you would expect. That third bid from Manchester United coming in yesterday afternoon. 65 million plus 5 million in add-ons. You can do the maths. That's 70 million. That apparently is what Brentford are after. Are they going to be happy with 65 plus 5 rather than 70? We'll have to wait and see. But it does seem as though most of the chat around this transfer bid, most of the reports, most of the noise seem to indicate that this will be enough to get the deal done. Manchester United confident that this can be enough. So we'll get into all that. Make sure you are hitting that like button, please, people. If you're not doing so, subscribe to the channel. Yeah, let's get to 810,000 subscribers. You don't want to miss out on any of the great content, including an absolute bumper podcast with Carl Anka out later on today. You may have seen a little bit of a snippet from it yesterday when we gave a reaction to the Bryan Mbeumo bid, but there's an absolute mega podcast with Carl Anka coming out today where we'll talk about all sorts. Talk about midfielders, talk about strikers, talk about transfers, talk about pre-season. It is mint. Trust me on that one. Carl Anka, good stuff. So make sure you're subscribing so you don't miss out. Great to see loads of people in the chat already. Glenn F, Akash K. I think I've seen Santa Notch there. Colin Coupleditch, Jacoya Trot, Brian Casey. Good to see all you people there. Santa Notch says it's Friday. I like that. Let's talk about Bryan Mbeumo bid. Unless you've been asleep, you will know that Manchester United did put in that third bid. Says here, this is an opinion piece from the Athletic, and this is sort of saying about, this is a bit of a test, so not from the Athletic, sorry, from the Manchester Evening News. And I like these opinion pieces from the Manchester Evening News because they sort of round up the stories and then give you a take on it. It's much better than a lot of the news stories I see from the MEN, to be honest with you. This is saying that this is a bit of a test for Omar Barada. So if you can see the rest of this story, then what's it?
No, just a little bit.
Right. Keep going. Yep. So it's basically said here, United have understood to offer 65 million plus 5 million in add-ons in comparison to the first bid United made in early June. They have offered, sorry, I was just reading that. They have offered 15 million more than what they were originally going to pay. So Manchester United have obviously upped their bid by quite a substantial amount. But the main sort of crux of this is, if this gets it done, is it happy days? We know that there's a bit of a twist in the tail there because there's interest, I think, from Newcastle in Jan Visa. That may have motivated Manchester United to act a little bit quicker because we don't know how many players Brentford are going to be willing to sell. Are they going to be happy to sell both their attackers? Is it only going to be one? So we're talking about here, there's the sort of gist of, this is an important transfer window, not just for Ruben Amorim, of course, but for the likes of Omar Barada and Jason Wilcox. I think we've got another story on the Mbeumo bid as well. You can get rid of that one. So, yeah, this is just the sort of nuts and bolts of it all. We've picked it from the Guardian. Could have picked it up from anywhere. Everyone covering this. So it was 65 million guaranteed. You can see there, Manchester United have made an improved bid for the Brentford forward, Bryan Mbeumo. The offer is worth up to 70 million with 65 million guaranteed and the rest on add-ons. Ruben Amorim is eager to sign Mbeumo. It was indicated to Brentford he would like to join United. We know that. We know that he's been mad keen to join United. Thankfully, I think that has made this deal doable. I think if he wanted to join Spurs, I don't think this would have got off the ground because United have been sort of going back and forth with Brentford, but one of the big pluses is the fact that Bryan Mbeumo is keen on a Manchester United deal. Didn't really entertain the idea of going to Spurs, which is a massive plus. Liam Powley Campbell, welcome to the Academy. Thank you for your support in the members section. I keep threatening, don't I, this bumper, this new members video we've got coming out. It is a good one, trust me, you don't want to miss that. Let me know what you think about the Bryan Mbeumo deal. Are you happy with it? I mean, I know it's not done yet, but it looks like we're getting towards the end game now. Do you think United have had the pants pulled down? Do you think this is fair? Do you think this is reasonable? One of the issues you've got with this is all the transfers that are happening and some of the fees around other transfers. People were saying it. Look at João Pedro going from Brighton to Chelsea. Look at Anthony Elanga going from Nottingham Forest to Newcastle. Look at the fees involved. When you've got those transfer fees of around 55, 60 million, then when you look at Bryan Mbeumo, who has just scored 20 Premier League goals, which is rare, let's not pretend that's normal for an attacker, does that mean that this deal had to be around the £70 million mark? Do you feel United should have played hardball? Do you think United should have said, look, 65 million, or maybe even a little bit less, depending on your point of view, is our limit. We are going to walk away if you don't accept it. Let me know what you think. Akash K says, Jay, should we brace ourselves if Brentford want £70 million up front? I don't know. I don't know is the honest answer. It does feel like most people are reporting that we're almost there with this one. I know I've said that before, but 65 million plus 5 million add-ons, it gives United that opportunity as well to try and sort of word it in the PR perspective to say it's only 65 technically, even though it is obviously 70 million all in. You can say, look, 65 plus add-ons, we'll word it as a 65 million pound deal. That's how we'll call it. I think we did something similar with the likes of Mason Mount and Andre Onana, where we sort of will say, oh, we paid 55 million or whatever it was for Mason Mount, or 45, 50 million, I can't remember, where Chelsea will go, well, we've got 60 million for him because they'll include all the add-ons. So clubs do this all the time. I feel like this might be the opportunity for United to sort of word it is less than 70 million, which we may be happy about. I don't know though. Are Brentford going to play proper hardball and say, no, we want the full 70? I mean, you can always do the 5 million in add-ons in basic add-ons. You could say 65 million up front and another 5 million when he plays for us, when he scores a goal. I don't know, but you could do it silly add-ons where you can just say face, but actually it's almost 70 million up front. Let me know what you think. Do United even have 70 million up front? There's another question that needs answering. Tom Hibbert, welcome to the Academy. Thank you for your support. Akash Cake says, I hope that 65 million plus 5 million gets this done. I hope it does. Blank Frank says, Brentford nylons, stretching it out a bit. That's a good joke, that. It sounds like the sort of joke my granddad would make. And I'm not, that's not an insult. I love my granddad. Manchester Maverick says, think he was caught between a rock and a hard place with this deal when there was only 5 million difference. Brian Kevill says, 70 million, absolutely mental. Bryan Mbeumo, not Figo or Zidane. Mbeumo, my mind is blown. So I take it, Brian, you think we should have walked away from that deal then? What was your limit? What's your limit? If you think we should have walked away, where would you say, no, that was it? Was it 60? Was it 65? Let me know what you think. Brian Casey says 127.5 million for Cunha and Mbeumo is better than 130 million for Wirtz. The thing with these transfers is it's what do you need? What improves your team? Where are you at? Manchester United need more than one big signing. We know that. We were woeful last season, the worst season I've ever experienced as a Manchester United fan, and I'm old. We know that we needed to bring in at least 2 attackers. We probably need a third. We probably need a striker. Liverpool are different because they've just won the league. So they're not looking at bringing in probably, I know they have done with the likes of Jeremy Frimpong and Milos Kerkez, but they probably looked at it that we need a big signing because Mo Salah is obviously 30 odd now. We need someone who we can go, okay, look, this is a marquee signing. This is a player that we're at the top level is good enough to get into our team. They haven't just finished 15th, they've just finished first. And Florian Wirtz is a type of player that goes straight into their team. Where with us, we finished 15th, we need good players in the likes of Matheus Cunha and hopefully Bryan Mbeumo if this deal gets done. We've got 2 players that get straight into our team and hopefully elevate us, not just higher than 15th, but a lot higher than 15th. I think if we can add a striker, maybe a midfielder, Manchester United aren't a million miles away from challenging for those Champions League spots. I know people might think Jay Deludu who just finished 15th, get a grip, but if you to bring in 3 attackers and a midfielder, 4 first-team players, and maybe you have a little bit more luck with injuries, I know that's a big if, then who knows. Bilal MUFC says, good morning, Jay. I saw Mbeumo behind my local as they're scrapping with a tall man with long hair. Jesus wept, Joe. Do not be fighting with Bryan Mbeumo behind Asda. I don't know what is wrong with that lad. He just can't help himself. MF Grimm says Brentford will activate 1-year extension on Mbeumo, but could still get him for 35 million next summer. They could do that. I don't know if they will. Conor McCall says, agree, would have paid 70 million for Mbeumo. We need players who can perform in the Premier League. I'm sick of buying abroad and it not working out. We have taken a punt, haven't we, on players from abroad over the last few years. I mean, there's nothing wrong with buying players from abroad. Some of the greatest players we've ever had have been from abroad, and I think Manchester United should always continue to do that. However, it does help to supplement that, or to also have, or complement that, I should say, with players who are Premier League proven. And I think of late, Manchester United perhaps haven't done enough of that. I don't think we've done enough of the Premier League proven signings. We have done some, but if you look at some of the players recently that haven't quite worked out, very few of them are from the Premier League. And when we have got players from the Premier League, like Christian Eriksen, for example, you tend to know what you're getting and you know they can handle it and they can do a job. So I get this idea. I get the idea of, look, let's get Bryan Mbeumo, let's get Matheus Cunha, who we know can score goals, have created goals in the Premier League. We know that. Also, maybe you supplement that. We've got Diego Leon, who's come from Paraguay. Do we get 1 or 2 other players in as well? We'll have to wait and see. I don't want to keep plugging this Carl Anka video that's coming out, but it is amazing. But Carl talks about potential midfield targets as well, and he mentions quite a few names. Some names are in the Premier League, some names in the Championship, some names, I think, from overseas. Laurie Whitwell's been speaking about all this. He's done a great article in The Athletic. Laurie has obviously got his own show on this channel, Inside United. He says, United hopeful Brentford accept the 65 million plus 5 million bid for Bryan Mbeumo. Race then to get all sorted for team flights to Chicago on Tuesday. Chicago, one of them Foskers. It'd be great to see Bryan Mbeumo in the States. We're going to be over there with Stretford Paddock, so make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on all the content we're doing on the tour. Someone asked earlier in the chat, says, why is Lisandro Martinez on the thumbnail? That's why. Lisandro Martinez is set to be on the plane, should doctors allow, not fit to play, but seen as good for him to be around the squad. Just the idea of Lisandro Martinez being around the squad fills me with joy and hope. I love Lisandro Martinez. I hope to God, I hope to Eric, that he is fit to play a part for the majority of next season. He might not make the beginning of next season. I think that's too hopeful. But if we can get Lisandro Martinez fit, I think he's perfect for this system. He really is. And the sad thing for Ruben Amorim and Manchester United last season was just as we started to see the real Lisandro Martinez, just as he started to get back to the Lisandro Martinez we saw in that first season under Eric Ten Hag, carrying the ball out of defence, taking it forward, putting in those tackles, scoring goals. He was even doing money. He was adding goals to his repertoire. He gets injured. He's had no luck with injuries. I just hope he comes back from injury because he's such an important player. And I think a back three of Lenny Yoro, Lisandro Martinez and Mateus de Ligt, if you went with that, is phenomenal. I do. Let me know. Get involved in the chat and the comments. Let us know what you think. Paul Hogan says, get Leacher back soon. I agree with that sentiment, but I think we have to be cautious. Don't want to rush him back. We did that, didn't we? Just remember the West Ham game, I think it was. I mean, to be fair, you could argue, wasn't he rushed back? He got fell on. That could have happened to anyone. But I think it was last season. Was it beginning of last season? Was it or the season before? I think it was the season before, wasn't it? With the Arsenal game where he came back and he broke down. It was just, we rushed him back, so we've got to be careful here. And the good thing is, in Aiden Heaven, we've got a fantastic backup to Lisandro Martinez. I love Aiden Heaven. I think he's mint. Brian Casey says, whatever this injury, we need to be careful about rushing him back. Just be patient and make sure he's 100% fit. Adam says he needs a full season this year. I think the good thing with having Aiden Heaven is you can bring Lisandro back. You don't have to rush Lisandro Martinez back. And even when you bring him back, you can maybe, because we're only playing like one game a week, you can maybe play him a game, let him have a breather, maybe give him 60 minutes, swap him for Aiden Heaven. I wouldn't mind that at all. Bilal, MUFC, welcome to the Academy. Thank you for your support. Glenn F says, are we going to get Watkins as well, do you think? I love the fact he's capitalised Watkins. I think there might be some late transfer window shenanigans from Manchester United. Keep your eye on that. T Mills says, Jay, you're going to Oslo tomorrow for the game. Unfortunately, is it in Oslo? Is that where it is? Stockholm, innit? Yeah. We're not going to Scandinavia. I love Scandinavia. I love Stockholm. It's where, obviously, I saw United win the Europa League in 2017. But we won't be going. We will be going to America, though. So, like I keep saying, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out. Craig says, who's been a member of the Academy for 34 months, pants pulled down. Should have worked. Sorry, let's start again. Pants pulled down. Should have walked away from a Mbeumo deal weeks ago. Is there seriously no one else that doesn't improve on what we've got for less? There are loads of players that improve on what we've got. I'm not denying that. I think you could basically throw a stone out your window and hit someone that improves on what we've got, to be honest. But we want players that are going to be good enough to get us right up that table. I don't want a player who's just going to score 7 or 8 Premier League goals as an attacker, because that's probably better than what we've had. We need someone who's really going to elevate us. I think Mbeumo is that guy. However, have we had our pants pulled down? I'm not sure. I don't want to sit on the fence with this. I'm glad we got Mbeumo, or looks like we're getting him, I should say. We've not got him yet. Yes, ideally you'd pay under 70 million, but if you gave me the choice, if it was a yes or no answer, do I think we should be getting him, even if that is a cost, I'm going to go yeah. I'm a simple man. I want signings. I want this deal done. I think he's a very good player, and I think he will elevate this team massively. Let me know what you think. Brian Casey has sent a Stretford Paddock gift membership. Thank you. Akash K has done the same. Thank you to you, wonderful people. Let's talk about Lisandro Martinez again. Steve Railson says, yep, Manchester United receive injury boost after Positive's update on defender. This is from Stephen Railston in the Evening News. Manchester United defender Lisandro Martinez is progressing well in his recovery from a knee injury. Martinez's knee buckled when he fell to the ground against Palace at the beginning of February, and it was confirmed he had suffered an injury to his cruciate ligament. Also, thank you, Doc Rotts, gifting a membership. 5 months on, Martinez is on an individual programme at Carrington, and his rehabilitation is progressing well, although club sources have been reluctant to put a date on his return and have stressed he won't be back. He won't be rushed. I get all that. Makes sense. Take your time and get rid of that. The fact, I think you've got to temper expectations. He's going with the squad if he does go to America, not as someone who's going to be playing football, but just to be around the squad, which is a good look in it. I get that. I know some people say, you shouldn't have injured players around the squad. It depresses everyone. I don't think that's the case here with Lisandro Martinez. Very popular figure. You want to get him just sort of back into the sort of feel of things, and also it doesn't hurt, does it, to just be around your squad mates or your teammates. Let's talk about Rasmus Hojlund. There's been a link here with, I think, is it AC Milan? So, Di Marzio, remember him when he used to be top dog? AC Milan survey for Rasmus Hojlund, requested information from United to assess the feasibility of the operation. Now, we know from Laurie Whitwell a couple of weeks ago that he said he actually thought that Rasmus Hojlund leaving is probably more likely than unlikely. Says he could actually see him leaving Old Trafford. Now, I don't think he's going anywhere unless we get a striker. I know it looks like we're about to get Bryan Mbeumo. We've already got Matheus Cunha. You could play maybe those two and a Joshua Zirkzee. Maybe you could even play Ahmad and maybe push Mbeumo up front. There are sort of permutations that could happen with that. However, I'd be very surprised if Manchester United let Rasmus Hojlund go without bringing in a striker. We have been linked with Ollie Watkins. We have been linked with Nicholas Jackson. We've still got Chido as well. I know he's only young. Let me know what you think. Di Marzio there saying that we could be in for him. They could be selling him to Milan. He's been linked with Inter, I think, in the past. So looks like both Milan clubs are interesting. Steve M says he was speculating though. Jay, I think that's talking about the... is that the Laurie Whitwell? He was speculating, but he was about... When you say he was speculating off information he had. It wasn't just going, I just reckon. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was true and he did end up moving on. I mean, it's not set in stone, but if United bring in another striker, I wouldn't be surprised if Rasmus Hojlund moves on. I don't know. It's difficult, innit? I like Rasmus Hojlund, but he had a poor season last season. Brian Casey says, I'd take Watkins and 20 million for Garnacho, then we can sell Hojlund. Difficult to get swap deals done, but there was talk one there of Garnacho going to Villa. Maybe there's something in that. It might even be we sell him to Villa and we buy Watkins off Villa. I know that sounds stupid. Craig says 2.5 million plus wages per goal is crap. Oh, I don't know what's going on there. I think he's arguing with someone. Let's talk about the Manchester United Barbers. Somehow I won't be visiting, obviously. Kieran Maguire, as a friend of the channel, great for talking about the finances behind football. He's talking about the new training facilities at Carrington. He says Manchester United's new training ground building becomes the first in the Premier League to have its own barbershop area for player haircuts. Forget winning trophies, right, and football matches and challenging and getting into the Champions League. What you want is hairdressers in your training ground, yeah? And we're the first club to have that. So that's the real quiz. Shane Brooks says Bruno, Cunha and Mbeumo rotating front three. Yeah, I mean, we've got barbers at the training ground. Nice one. So next time, we might finish 15th next season, but at least we'll have mint Barnett's when we do it. We're not going to finish 15th. We'll be all right. Just a little lamb finally there. Yeah, great that we've got, they're going to look good in new fresh haircuts. Hopefully the football is befitting of the hairdos they'll all have. We're going to be back later on today. We've got The Brew, obviously, at 4 o'clock. Me and Stephen Howson putting the world to rights, chatting about all sorts of everything. I'm going to warn you now, right? The Brew is just a Friday afternoon show where me, Steve, sometimes we have guests, sometimes it's just us two, just chat about all sorts. So if you don't know what's going on with The Brew, that is The Brew. But if you want pure football chat, Manchester United chat, unadulterated United discussion, then we've got another video coming out later on today with Carl Anker. It's a 90-minute absolute bonanza podcast where we chat about all things Manchester United related. And if you've not seen Carl Anker on the podcast, he is mint. And also you can go and check him out on his own podcast on Talk of the Devils with the likes of Andy Merton, Ian Irving and our mate Laurie Whitwell. I'm going to be back later on today with The Brew at 4 o'clock. If you've not done so already, go and check out Carl Anker's reaction. We've got 2 Carl Anker videos on the channel from yesterday when we spoke about the Bryan Mbeumo deal. But the big news today is United are hopeful that the 65 million plus 5 million add-ons will get the Bryan Mbeumo deal over the line. Plus, Lisandro Martinez is looking like he could be travelling with the squad to the US tour, but not as a playing member of the squad, just to be around the squad with a view to his return. We need you back, Leacher. I've been Jay Motty. This has been the Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.